Alrighty, hello everybody. Welcome back to Collegiate Exclusive. For the first time in exactly a month, I think it was exactly 4 weeks since the last time TG and I recorded an episode of the CEP, and I've been fiending for Collegiate Esports to be back, and we've still got another month or so before we really get into things. We're still in the summer season, but TJ, first of all, how you been doing? What you been up to?
Well, that's the best part. I've been up to absolutely nothing the entire summer. I'm definitely trying to make sure I'm staying away from casting or a lot of coaching or anything major. I'm just enjoying the summer while it lasts, and then obviously I got to go up to West Virginia in a few weeks, so I know I'm going to hit the ground running. But you though have been busy on the other hand.
Yeah, for those that don't know, so I've been quiet on the collegiate side, like what I normally do during the on season of fall and spring. I've been traveling around as a brand ambassador for PUBG Mobile the last 2 weeks. I'm still technically on the tour. That's my employment for the month of July and into August. I'm going to different Walmart parking lots as a brand ambassador and promoting the game. I was in Baton Rouge 2 weeks ago, then Orlando, then Jacksonville, and I'm in between Jacksonville and Atlanta right now. So I was able to stop at home. I'm in Auburn for 2 days, which it's nice to be home. I have been all over, because that's including Raleigh as well, not including Raleigh, which was the week before I left for this trip. And that was an awesome experience. I missed you, TJ. People were asking about you. So we'll have to see at the next NA RLCS LAN. But it was so cool seeing everybody. We had a great SCL meetup. To the people that say they watch my streams and my content and that I'm doing a good job, thank you so much. I didn't know people actually watched this stuff, so it's cool to have that affirmation. But that was sick. I've been all over. It's good to be back, but I'm glad you're getting your rest, TJ. I think we all kind of need that.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe there was a world where I show up at the major just because it's like half a leisure event, but it's also the social battery that I have to deploy has got to be like 10 times what I
Yeah.
normally would like to do on a summer day. So unfortunately, I did miss it. But maybe I'll make the trip up somewhere up north now that I'll be further up north. Like if they go back to Boston, if they go to DC, I'll be relatively close. So we'll have to see in the future. But I saw the pictures. I saw obviously watching from home. It looked like a lot of fun. So I hate that I couldn't see any of y'all there, but I'm sure it was a blast either way.
Hey, we'll get our fair share of collegiate lands in NA this upcoming semester. I know you're a part of several of them that we'll talk about more in later on in the show. But we still have a lot to talk about, even though it is summer. I'm going to buck the trend of coming into these episodes being like, okay, we're probably going to talk for like 45 minutes tops, and then we go on for another 90-minute episode as usual. But a lot has gone on, despite no like real competitions outside of CCS and then pre-jump a month ago. There hasn't been, or there has still been a lot going on behind the scenes. I think the biggest news on my end, it has been a large part of my work the last several weeks, is that Great Lakes Esports / Nova, that whole rebrand mess, they ended up closing down. And I don't know exactly why they closed down, but I found out a little bit early and got permission from Brave / Josh to set up alongside Fred, for those that don't know, the owner of Gaming Oasis / the Southeastern Esports League. And we set up the Northeastern Esports League, which is now live, and kind of filling that void in the Northeast. But most importantly, I'm going to pull up the goodbye tweet here in a second, because this was kind of a shock, I think, when a lot of us learned about it, because they signed off, TJ, Nova did, saying we're looking forward to our next season.
Yeah, it definitely came as a surprise. I mean, again, I haven't been able to follow as much behind the scenes with Nova as you have, so you know way more than I ever will. But if you guys did not take the time to read through this very heartfelt announcement, it obviously goes through everything that Nova has been deciding on over the last year. They did still put on a very nice show. Like they had a land. They had teams like Columbia, Drexel, Akron, Davenport. I can go
Yep.
on and on about the talent level that they were able to produce. It just sucks that they couldn't make it. I'm trying to think of the best word to say. No real longevity, I guess, was in the way that they wanted to continue to pursue things forward. But I'm glad that we still get to support this region through our group. Obviously through Gaming Oasis, through the SEL, and now of course the NEL. But again, you're the expert to talk on this matter.
Yeah, so the NEL is, going to replicate the SEL, essentially same format, same sort of schedule. Before I do get into that, because I got to promote my own stuff, and I will in a moment. But I was sad to hear about Great Lakes / Nova shutting down, because I've worked Great Lakes broadcasts for the last 2 years or so, last 2 seasons, and they were passionate guys, which is why I liked working with them. Why I had the Tuesday Night Lights, where it was SEL versus Great Lakes, because they were passionate regional esports people. And I saw a lot of the SEL and Gaming Oasis in the Great Lakes people. And so it does hurt that it's shutting down, but that's the way it is right now in collegiate esports. A lot of things shut down, new things pop up, a lot of consolidation going on at the moment. I mean, we saw the merger a couple months ago with HSCL, Play Versus, and Playfly, and that's the sort of thing that we're seeing in collegiate right now. It's kind of the state of the industry, where we're all sort of figuring out what the space is going to look like 5 years from now. And I think we're seeing the first kind of steps at the moment, TJ.
I want to save a lot of my big industry points for the Scholastic Minute, because we have some other industry issues to talk about, but I agree. And again, like I just said, I hate that this group specifically couldn't support this community, but I'm glad that we're able to help hopefully fill the gaps and still bring these top schools in. And there's so much collaboration now that can actually occur between the Southeast and the Great Lakes regions. I mean, my vision is already set on a nationals of some kind, where we get to bring the best of the best from both regions to one central location for LAN. Like, I can already see the Cumberland versus Columbia, the Bruton Parker versus St. Clair Gold. Obviously, Davenport isn't going anywhere anytime soon. There's so much to cover. Don't even get me started on Akron either, who's eligible to compete in this side of things. We're very excited. We'll just have to see how it all actually lays out once we get to August. But we're very excited to get to hopefully pick up what was left.
So real quick, I want to talk about the NEL, because I'm also the director of league operations for the Northeastern Esports League. This is the Twitter. Go follow it. Only 2 posts right now, just the retweeting of the initial announcement tweet, and then our logo. But Northeastern Esports League, similar format to the SEL, with a LAN at the end of the year-long season. I am actively recruiting for it at the moment, so if you go to a school or know someone that goes to a school in the Northeastern region that is from North Dakota across to Maine, and then just kind of down until it meets the SEL. So down to Missouri, across to the Maryland, DC area. And we are really excited about this. I think, like you said, we have visions of a sort of national competition, which is CECC right now. It's not set. We're hoping we can get a bid for the NEL just like we do for the SEL, but those talks haven't even started yet, because CECC is still on break, still figuring out this next season, that whole thing. There's a lot happening behind the scenes, though, and I'm getting really good at the Discord's CAPTCHA puzzles, where you have to make sure you're not a bot, because Discord really thinks I'm a bot for the amount of DMs that I've been sending out over the course of the last couple of weeks. So that's a skill that I never thought I would be boasting about, but yeah, super excited about the NEL. That's all I'll talk about it for now. We'll talk about it a lot over the course of the season once things get underway. But yeah, any thoughts on it, TJ, before we move on to the next subject?
We have way too many topics to cover today, so I'll save my thoughts for once we get to the main Southeastern Esports League broadcast and we get to talk about it even further. All I will say is that look at the purple on the logo. It's very clean. It's a very nice addition to the yellow and blue that the Southeastern Esports League has. So anyways, just that. Let's move on.
Oh, yeah. I love the purple. I push for the purple.
It looks so good.
Thank you. Shout out to John, our graphic designer. We love him. He makes really cool stuff. He actually made this L bar that we're using for Collegiate Exclusive. I just kind of retooled it from our State of the SEL graphic. So shout out John. We love John. But moving on, I also didn't say hi to everyone in chat right now. Hi everyone. Tiz is joining us for the first time. We met in Raleigh. Good meeting you as well. Tyler's here. Oasis here. Taquito, Dylan. And Oasis, I've gotten hit with the too many DMs being sent, try later. Enough times to where there was almost a hole in a hotel desk that I was staying at. But I liked keeping my security deposit. So the hole never appeared, but it's frustrating, man. I've got Discord Nitro and everything, and it's still flagging me. But Beside the point. Also, I don't know why my overlay says more roster moves. I messed that up. It's been too long since we had an episode, but
I mean, there's some to talk about still.
oh yeah, I mean there are roster moves, but it shouldn't say that right now because we still have more big headlines to talk about. Because Siena Heights announced that they're closing after this academic year, and this has been a fairly big esports school over the course of the last several years.
Well, I have to preface this conversation with that this is a very different conversation we're having compared to a school like Illinois State.
Yes.
Illinois State, a school who you regard at a Division I level, maybe not entirely throughout what you would compare their school statistics to, but I believe in their athletics outside of esports, that is what they competed in. And there's a lot of natural government and also sponsorship level funding that comes from that. Siena Heights, on the other hand, is a private Catholic school. I did not catch what athletic division they actually compete in. I was trying to find it before we started today. But I didn't see it just yet. But I know for a fact they are not Division One. I don't even think they're Division Two. And either way, I'm not extremely shocked that a school like this is having issues, but I do hate it because this is a program that I think had a lot of real potential, not only within Michigan, which if you had to rank states on collegiate success, I think you put Michigan in the top two, potentially as the best. I mean, you're talking Northwood, and I don't even really need to get into details outside of that. Northwood pulls a lot for this school in terms of esports and shifting the culture, not to mention the Great Lakes region in general. So I hate that the school itself couldn't make it work because this esports program, I think, had a lot of potential.
Yeah, it does suck. And Tiz said it in chat. I confirmed it with the Google search. Siena Heights is an NAIA school. I mean, Bruton Parker equivalent, like a school that focused on esports to make a name for themselves. And they were doing so. But schools closing, that's kind of a product not just of the esports space right now, but the collegiate education system as a whole. With like that's when we get into kind of the politics of college and post high school education, and we're starting to see the brunt of it taken by some of these schools that are shuttering programs. I think we have the tweet in our Discord. I forgot to link it, but so like someone was shutting down their scholarship Overwatch program. I mean, Siena Heights closing. We've had stories in the past. No, I don't think it was Maryville.
I thought Maryville was shutting down their Overwatch program.
Maybe that's a separate thing. I don't even know if we have that linked.
I'll double check while you're talking. But either way, I do want to wrap up some of the SHU points where I hate that SHU has to be the blunt of the blunt point of the statement that I'm about to make. And I'll come back and I'll touch on the Maryville thing in just a second about some aspects of programs shutting down. But this is why I want to say this to all of the coaches who are in this or listening to this, or the high schoolers who are listening to this or watching this. Please, please, please be careful about where you decide to commit and actually travel to for post-high school education, because the private sector of college can be very, very successful. Syracuse, a huge one. Northwood, a huge one. If you want to be successful in esports, there are options, but those are also schools with tenure who are at the very top of their individual fields. Like Northwood, I think the reason why that school is still very much so succeeding is because on top of esports, they have academic programs within Michigan that are actually ranking higher than some other big public schools in Michigan. And some private schools just can't really make that hump or jump at all in that, I guess, degree or aspect. That's why I decided to go to Concord. It was a very big factor for me and why I decided to go there, because they are a public four-year school. There's, again, a lot of extra funding that public schools get, not to mention when you get into the whole athletic side of things. And if you're working esports in an athletic program and not a club or a club sport program, that's a whole other side of things too. So please, please, please just be cautious, be careful. Obviously, every scholarship offer that you get is an honor, and you should take it as such, but just make sure that you know what you're getting into long term.
It pays to be informed about the schools, which is why, for the high schoolers out there, it's good to kind of keep an eye on the space. And there isn't a great way to do that at the moment in collegiate, which, I mean, like, this podcast is an example of mine and TJ's efforts to try and up the journalistic efforts of the collegiate space. Collegiate Esports News is a good example of that. We'll talk about their return later on in the show as well. But it's good as things are so chaotic. Try your best to keep up with where some schools stand, how they support their programs, and to ask those questions on recruiting calls. If you are in a recruiting call with a coach, ask those questions. Be prepared to ask those questions. It kills me when I was still at Huntington, how many high schoolers you would get into a call with and be like, well, do you have any questions for me? And be like, no, I don't. And then that would be it. And I mean, you don't have to have questions. It's not a prerequisite to get into a program, but you should be prepared to ask questions about the more in-depth aspects of a program. So that's our soapbox there. A couple perspectives on that. And I mean, the good side of this, good segue, Boise State is now part of their athletics department. This is a program that, if you have been following with the course of the last many, many years in esports, has been doing nothing but good things. And now I think this is kind of a reward for their winning ways. And they're going to be in Boise State athletics now officially.
It's about time, honestly. Boise State has done such a good job of not only pushing the envelope for Division I schools looking to get into esports, but really pushing the envelope for collegiate esports as a whole. There is so many different businesses or companies or events that would never have even looked into collegiate esports if it wasn't for a school like Boise State, who was willing to make this jump. Not only now being an official athletic program, but with all of the support and foundation that school has given that esports program for decades now. And not to mention the talent that they provide, not only within video games, but also within broadcasting too. Nerdy Bird, for example, somebody who me and you both have great experiences with from DreamHack, from CECC. That is somebody who went to Boise State, did esports broadcast for, I think, about 2 or 3 years, and now is actively working in this field. And that's what it's all about right there. And also they work in Overwatch, in the pro scene and the challenger scene as well. And that's just the type of stuff that not many programs have learned how to do yet. How do you develop talent in things like broadcasting, in design, in marketing, in event planning, et cetera, et cetera. So I have a lot of respect for Doc and what he continues to do, and I'm very happy for Boise State. I'm just surprised it didn't happen 5 years ago.
Well, it's a great blueprint. I think because it didn't happen 5 years ago, well, it wasn't rushed. They made sure they were ready to integrate because the boards at big schools like this have different priorities than esports directors. For me as a coach, when I was working at Huntington, I wanted to beat the esports schools. Like you wanted to beat a Bruton Parker, you want to beat a Northwood, but athletic directors that aren't inherent to esports don't see those wins as much of anything because they don't know those are esports schools. It's a big deal to win. Our kind of prerogative at Huntington was to recruit and build up a big program, not win necessarily. But at other programs like Boise, the goal is to win, and you want to beat big names there as well. Otherwise, why are they dumping this amount of money into collegiate esports if you're going to lose to tiny Northwood or NAIA school Bruton Parker? And so that's the priorities for these kinds of programs. And Boise State is a great blueprint on how to win effectively and also satisfy a board and build growth elsewhere, like in production. So it is really cool to see, and I'm sure we're going to see more of this as more big D1 schools get into esports.
It'll be intriguing to see what they decide to do with potential scholarship funding as well. It seems like every school, even your big Division I or Division II schools, have decided to go abroad for talent. Winthrop, obviously a big one. Maryville, another huge one. They have decided to almost entirely base their teams on European professionals. And I wonder if Boise State will try to take the American approach, the Northwood approach, or I guess most of Northwood approach, and try and keep things North American, or if they're now going to start prioritizing competition, and we're going to have another carbon copy of a Maryville, of a Winthrop. That's a topic that we'll have to cover throughout the school year, but it's just something that I think will be very interesting to see. Also, now that Maryville is out of Overwatch, Boise State has been a dominant Overwatch school for years and years and years, and it seems like the door is only going to keep getting wider or more open for them to dominate in that space alone. And we'll have to see if Rocky League has any major changes. I do believe that Durtho I think he either graduated this semester or he will graduate this next school year. Because I know he's been there for at least three
Wow.
CECCs now. So we'll have to see, where does Boise State decide to go next? Do they take a Syracuse approach? Do they recruit local? Or do they just throw it out the window? Who knows?
Yeah, that's another great thing to keep an eye on. I think Durtho is graduating or has graduated. I think at CECC he said it was his last CECC.
I believe
but
that's right.
That's a like half memory. I've had a lot of conversations at that event and since then, and so I don't want to speak that as truth if it's not certain. And also UC Irvine was the school I was trying to think of that posted a tweet about closing down their Overwatch program. I always in the chat reminded me. So shout out always for that. But all right, now I think we can get into roster moves, and we're starting with a sad one. This was I was not expecting this. Bubs at Missouri has announced his retirement from Rocket League and transition to Valorant. So kind of like a bittersweet thing because obviously us being in the Rocket League space, we want him competing in Rocket League. But hey, if he's a good Valorant player, like go do your thing, Bubs.
I want to give people the chance to really read what Bubs put down, because I feel like that Bubs said what needed to be said about the program at Missouri without directly causing issues from it. So I'm going to do my best job of my 99% translation here. And I'm going to be a little blunt with it because I don't want to spend too much time, because this kind of goes on to my industry points that I want to make later. But Missouri Esports, when they finally decided to go Rocket League and they wanted to put their entire program's future on Bubs, I was ecstatic. This is a kid who came out of high school, was absurdly talented, had many, many placements both within Scholastic Esports and out of Scholastic Esports to prove that he was a deserving player. I think the best comparison I can think of would be somebody like Gababy coming out of high school, who this program is willing to put everything on. And Missouri did that, but then once the season actually settled in, there was a lot of controversy around what in the world was going on with Missouri Rocket League. They missed DreamHack Atlanta. They missed Boost on the Beach. They almost missed Bluegrass Boost Battle. Not to mention that was an event that they had to qualify for as well, and they very narrowly didn't qualify for that event. And so I understand why Bubs made the decision, whether he enjoys Rocket League or not, completely taking that out of the equation, just because it seems like that Missouri as a school has other priorities. And I can't say I blame them with how Rocket League has been, both inside and outside of Collegiate. I said this in my comment under Bub's post as well. I just hate that Missouri could never truly understand how to support a Rocket League team when they fully support other teams of 5, 6, 7 players, subs, coaches, etc. It should be half the worries. It should be half the concerns. But Missouri just bit off more than they could chew. And unfortunately, that means that Bubs was kind of the one player who took it all on, because Crim's graduated. I believe that Exodia stepped away for the last few months, and then I believe that just leaves Frostbite, who I think graduates this year as well. So Bubs is going to be on an island either way. And I hate it, but I'm also glad that now he'll be in Valorant, hopefully with a younger team, where he can now just sink in for his next few years in Missouri, have a good time, go win something. And obviously his montages are cold. Go look at his Twitter. He's a very, very talented Valorant player. He's going to be just fine making the switch.
I'm excited to see him in Valorant, and hopefully we can get Mizzou Valorant in, it'd be the NEL. Missouri's technically in the northeastern region for that, but hey, that's all I'm saying. We can still have Bubs competing adjacent to the space. It shows that he's still got the drive to compete as well. And I will tell a Bubs story, since this is about him retiring. The first time I really watched him play Rocket League was several years ago in the Finality League, which was like a tier 2, tier 3 event that was happening that I was a caster for. He, Pigeon, and Gad were on a team. I think it was Six Figures at the time was the either org or team name. I don't actually remember. And he dropped 1,300 points, Bubs did, in one game in regulation. 1,300 points. He had scored like 6 or 7 goals, and I had forgotten about it for a while. And then Bubs replied to my predicting against Mizzou and was like, I'm going to drop 1,300 points again in front of you to prove that you should have picked Missouri. And so I still have that screenshot, and I'm going to have to find it because I don't have it on hand. I should have thought about that, but it's a crazy stat line where he drops so many points in regulation. And I mean, Bubs was a high-profile recruit coming out of high school, and it sucks that his talent in Rocket League was fumbled a little bit. But hey, he still got the drive to compete in Valorant, and we definitely wish him the best.
Again, he'll be all right. He's an extremely talented player no matter what game he touches. He's just one of those guys that whatever you put him on, he's going to be successful. So
yeah,
very excited to see what happens over there. But I guess we'll keep moving down to another D1 school here, Bepic.
Yes, Ole Miss. Ole Miss, I don't have a graphic for this. We'll definitely talk about it when we recap pre-jump because they won pre-jump. Ole Miss did. As C-Money, he graduated, will still be in the program as a graduate assistant, but S5 Cosmic will be taking his spot, which turns out to be one of the most exciting roster moves that no one saw coming before pre-jump because they went and won the whole darn thing. And I know Concord had some shortcomings with their setups and all of that. Their coach was adamant about telling us, but Ole Miss win pre-jump, the majority of that $2,000 prize pool with S5 Cosmic, and they look good doing it too.
I can't be salty at all. Lunar is a homie. I have absolutely no hate for anybody on that Ole Miss roster. Me and Lunar have had really, really fun times, both online and offline. So I can't hate by any means. I hope to see them again at Boost on the Beach or Bluegrass or both or more. I will probably see them because Cosmic is the addition to this roster that will now transform Ole Miss into a bubble CRL team to arguably a consistent top 8 team if they can get to that level. In my opinion, there's a lot of questions with how that team works because it used to be Lunar was this overly aggressive first man and he was easily the best player on this team, and that's how it had to be for them to find success. But now you bring in somebody like Cosmic who you could argue is on an equal level to Lunar, and even some days they can help kind of fill the gaps under or over one another. And that's a very scary kind of double-headed dragon that you have to worry about now. But also, I will say, with the pre-jump event, I was very, very impressed by Stealth. I have to be completely blunt. Normally, if you're looking at Ole Miss from an analyst perspective, from a statistical perspective, Stealth has always been kind of the third man, the bottom man on that team. C-Money always filled the middle there and was always working with Lunar in the front half. But Stealth played not only his role, but really played every role on the field well throughout that tournament. So I got a lot of love for this team. They're going to be really fun to watch. Yeah. I'm just excited for when we get to play them either on LAN or on full 6 players being on North American ping. We'll see. I'm very excited.
Had to throw that in there at the end.
Had to. Hey, I have a job to do. I have a scholarship legality I need to fill.
Yeah,
no,
fair
but seriously,
enough.
tournament was a blast. Tournament was a blast. Ole Miss, of all the teams we could have possibly played, Ole Miss was unexpected, but it was fun. It went to 7.
Yeah.
I have absolutely no complaints. So we will see them on LAN multiple times this year, I hope.
And their passing plays during pre-jump were chef's kiss the entire tournament. And that sort of synergy, to have that right off the bat, I hope it doesn't get countered by teams going into the fall season. Like, they see that's definitely a strength of Ole Miss. And they lock down the midfield and those quick hit passes. But it was fun to watch in pre-jump, man. Ole Miss has some synergy already. Definitely exciting one to watch. Next two are still no visuals for this one. Drexel's been playing in CCS. Baron graduated, and Guard is their new freshman pickup, which I don't know a ton about Guard, but I know he's fairly solid, and Drexel's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, I meant to have Guard's RLCS-related placements listed up here, but Guard is somebody who, if you've actually taken the time to watch throughout RLCS, there is a few results that Guard really has to raise some eyebrows with.
Okay.
In terms of a collegiate Rocket League player. I'm going to read off just a few. Because there's some very, very fun ones here. Within the last year, Guard has managed to go anywhere from, and I'm going to explain this in a second, he's gone from anywhere to top 70 RLCS to top 20 RLCS. And so with Guard specifically, I find it really funny that I think he is an absolute system player. And I think that getting to play with somebody like Kevin is real. Like Dylan actually beat me to this point. I think playing with somebody like Kevin, who can fill a lot of roles and who seems to be a very good team captain, I think it's only going to enable Guard to be a really, really nice addition to that Drexel roster. But also, I will make this point kind of for Guard. He played on 3 different rosters in 4 different opens. And so I just hope that no matter what happens, and not to mention the salt mine placing as well, I hope no matter what happens, that Guard will not only have fun with this Drexel roster, but will actually find his role, because he is one of those players. I'll say this too, similar to like what Stealth used to be last year, since I was just talking about it. You put them in the right place, they will play not just to their peak, they will be game-defining, game-changing, pace-controlling level players. But you've got to figure out what that is, and the earlier that they do, the better off they'll be. And we've seen in CCS, Drexel really needs a change.
And it's been a rough CCS season, but it is just Summer League for them. And I think we'll get a good taste of what Drexel is about come the fall season. Not to derail, but shout out to the Scuzzy Duzzy Weekly from 2022. I missed those events. But that's a conversation to happen outside of roster changes. And that's good. I love grinders coming to the collegiate scene. That sort of passion is what we need, a passion to improve, and for Drexel to maybe take that next step. Maybe it's 1 step back, 2 steps forward in the fall semester. And I mean, we already know what Kevin's all about, so like that's going to be a fun team. He and Zerf already having those semesters at minimum together to build up that chemistry. Now they're integrating a new freshman. I love stories like that, bringing in a new freshman with some experienced vets. So keep an eye on Drexel. Next is a quick one. Last show, Adam Stanley, the new director at Baylor Esports, had said that their roster would come out next week. That was 4 weeks ago. It got delayed because of Raleigh, and it hasn't come out yet. But I was talking to him at Raleigh, and he's very excited about this roster. And I can't reveal anything, unfortunately. It's mostly rumors, unofficial signings, but I think Baylor is going to skip a lot of the top 48 in the CRL space. And I mean, we can't really go into depth about what they're picking up, but we're seeing a lot of schools like this coming in, investing a decent bit and getting a program propped up, and choosing Rocket League to kind of be that first step into collegiate esports.
It's almost a carbon copy of the Syracuse story.
Yes.
A big D1 school with a lot of private money finally decides to enter esports, and I'm very happy that Baylor has decided to not only contribute to Texas esports as a whole, as that is very, very quickly becoming like how Michigan is in collegiate esports, just one of those states that everywhere you look, there's a scholarship program who's ready to compete. Not to mention that CECC has been in Texas, not to mention 1,000 other esports events from professional level all the way down to, I guess, the regional level. Texas is a good area to build an esports program, and obviously Coach Stanley, I've sung his praises for many, many years. First coach that ever reached out to me when I was a player. He does everything right. He knows what he's doing. He's doing it for all the right reasons. So no matter who comes in for this Baylor roster, they're going to be talented. They're going to be contenders in leagues like CCS off rip. I'm very excited to see how that looks once this roster gets finalized. But I will say it is a little funny that the announcement keeps getting delayed. But the way that building these rosters are, it's always funny to see how long it takes for all the paperwork and all the confirmations to get signed. Also, I don't know anything about the Baylor roster, so this is not me hinting to anything. All I'm going to say is that if it's taken 4 weeks and nothing is officially signed, it could be a European roster. It could be a half European roster. The fact that it's taking this long makes me want to predict that. But I don't know. Oh, whoa, wait a minute. All right, hold on, Blake. You take over here.
Okay. In Twitch chat, Coach Stanley announcing his presence, and that tomorrow might be the day for the announcement. Okay. So when he said next week during the last show, he meant this show. It was preemptive. He knew the timeline. So okay, keep an eye on Baylor Esports. Yeah, sorry, Zora. Texas Rocket League might be getting a little bit stronger. New follower alert. So that's what's just popped up on the screen.
Wow.
But,
okay.
Hey, speaking of Texas Rocket League, this is the perfect segue. I didn't even intend for this to happen. LCU, we talked about it before pre-jump. But Lubbock Christian is importing a third here. Beastie is their new prodigal freshman to join the lineup. And they had a decent run at PreJump. Again, we'll talk more specifics with placements in a bit with PreJump. But it's another European import, TJ. The Europeans just keep on rolling in.
Well, not just a European import who decided to come play. This is a European import who has the results to back it up. I was trying to double check where they play. It was under the sick roster in the first split of this RLCS season. Beastie played with Uncle Bill, which if you watch EU RLCS, that's just one of the most fun names to watch, and also a German by the name of Jay Waits. I personally do not know anything about Jay Waits. I'm not the EU RLCS caster in the call right now, but I do want to comment on this, is that this is a roster who actually did make it to, if my math is correct, I believe it was a top 16 placement. Yes, it was. They made a top 22 and then a top 16 placement. So made it all the way to round 5 in Swiss, and then also made it through Swiss in 2 different EU Opens. So very, very exciting stuff. And also, I believe most recently played with the NXT roster over in Europe, which, if my research serves me correct, it was a similar roster, except it was Beastie J Waits and it was Matthew. And that roster played at an event called the Pop Esports or not an event, a season, a league called Pop Esports Masters. Won a nice chunk of change. It says about €1,000 here. So yes, this is a professional, and there's no getting it wrong. It's a big, big addition.
Yeah, and that European experience as well, play style. I mean, we've seen it work on many an occasion in CRL. Like, most of the teams at the top right now have at least one European player. And in some cases, it's a full European roster with the Maryvilles and the St. Clairs. So another instance of it, and LCU is not going anywhere. And yeah, sorry, Zora, that Texas qualifier just gets worse and worse. And speaking of which, St. Edward's Esports announced a guy you might be familiar with. Nolly is coming back. He was absent from this past season RLCS, and he's joining Wellis on the St. Edward's Esports roster. And that was announced back at the end of June, 3 weeks ago. And we still haven't heard anything about their third. And from what I understand, I believe they're still recruiting. And so if they haven't locked in anything, then, hey, maybe Zora, you jump ship and go join Nolly.
I'm sure Wace would just absolutely love to ship him off. But we'll have to see what they decide to do over there. I will say this as well. This is not the roster move that me and Bepic have been hinting at over the last 24 hours. But Nolly coming to CRL is still a very, very big change. I'm excited that Wellis gets a huge upgrade in teammates at St. Edward's. Not to say that his past team wasn't extremely talented, because they were. But I am a little concerned that they have yet to officially sign a third. Now, obviously, this tweet did blow up. I do think the odds of them signing a rank A player are very high. But I feel like this is a roster that deserves somebody who's made a main event or who's made Swiss and RLCS consistently, which technically would be rank A, but you guys know that the skill level difference that I'm talking about, it needs to be somebody who knows what the professional level of Rocket League looks like, because if Nolly is going to go all in on CRL, considering that he hasn't played on RLCS over the last year, he will be a threat. He will be a huge threat, and you will see him on Championship Sunday in CRL, I'm sure of it. But there's a lot of different ways that these schools and their European imports decide to look at the game, decide to put effort into the game. Obviously, you look at a team like Maryville versus the St. Clairs in terms of the amount of hours they put in, the amount of lands they go to. Yeah. I would hope a school here in Texas, they will be traveling. I would hope they will be competing in every living tournament. But we have to see who the third is first. But I am very excited, and obviously a big welcome to Nolly into the scene.
And if you do keep an eye on the chat, or if you're an audio-only listener and didn't see it, Oase said it that rumors were, these are purely rumors and speculation here, that it was supposed to be Kofir. But I've heard that he is just focusing on RLCS. And again, that's unconfirmed, total rumors, but it didn't pan out there. And so still looking for a third man is St. Edwards. And I mean, right now, the point you made, TJ, about getting a guy with RLCS experience versus just a rank A player that's made deep runs outside of main events, that's the difference right now in CRL between being a contending top 4 roster and just being a top 16 team. With the amount of roster moves that we're seeing, with schools bringing in RLCS pros to elevate their program, right now, if you want to compete for championships in CRL, you need a main event guy.
Probably need 2, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
And some schools even have all 3. But regardless of that point, I do want to very briefly talk about the Kofor, not situation, but rumors. I really do believe that if Space Station missed out on Worlds, I think that this roster move would have been done and signed over, at least based on some of my alternate sources. So here's what my new prediction is. Space Station will go to Worlds, Kofor will do his thing. I think that if Space Station as a roster decides to stick together, Kofor probably shouldn't even touch CRL. He should do what Daniel is doing, do what Beast Mode is doing, where you could be a CRL player, but is it worth it when you're one of the best players in the world and one of the best teams in the world? Time will tell, but I personally believe that Kofor may not enter Collegiate Rocket League, or if he does, we will not see him until next semester. And even that would be too soon, in my opinion. But time will tell. We'll see how well Worlds goes for the Space Station boys. We wish, obviously, Kofor the best regardless. Yes. But it would be a lot of fun to see him in CRL. So we'll see what happens with this St. Edwards roster. I don't think they'll be contenders this year. But, again, wait till next year. There's a lot that changes every semester. There's a lot of Europeans that are still on the table who haven't announced final signing places. So who knows?
And I mean, for Kofir, like, if I was in his shoes, unless there's kind of familial pressure to go to Collegiate, don't split time, because CRL will be here in 3 or 4 years. But an RLCS career, like what he's got in front of him, with the state of the esport as well, like being on an org like Space Station right now is huge. And if you can hold on to that for a couple of years, you can set yourself up well in life at such a young age.
Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, there are great examples of that already, and I think we're seeing that in CRL. We're kind of seeing the wave of guys that several years ago that were heading after a pro career, and they rode that out, they got the money from it, and now they're stepping back, transitioning to CRL, and the next roster move is a good example of that. Astro at USM, he was a pro several years ago, and then stepped into Collegiate a couple of seasons ago, and now he's stepping away from Collegiate. And there was some Twitter beef attached to this tweet here. He and Melodic kind of went back and forth.
I don't want to say too much, because I do have some personal ties to this drama. I do have a few friends who are in the middle of all this stuff, so I won't say too much, but I will say that if you're stepping back and looking at this, feelings aside, objectivity, you do know that this roster has had issues. Their placements in any collegiate event in the last year have showed that. This is a team that really never hit it off from day one. Haven't really had a placement that you could look at and say that this is the one, this is their breakthrough moment. And again, like, I can't sit here and say specific names, but again, if you follow the history of all 3 of these players and their past rosters, there's really not a single positive track record on any of them. And I'm surprised that Southern Miss even made the decision to pick up this specific roster. There is gambles that have worked out. I think Brock and Cam at Davenport, that was a gamble with 2 players with up and down histories where it actually worked out really well. And they are great teammates, and they were really fun when we met them in Myrtle Beach. But there's other times where you try to combine personalities that simply were just never meant to be combined. And that's what's happening with Southern Miss. I also hate that David, their director, left. He is easily one of the most fun directors I've ever had a conversation with. Unfortunately, he left his position at Southern Miss. I have a feeling that maybe if he was there, that this roster had maybe other ways of dealing with this, or maybe finding a new signee before the Twitter drama broke out. So I hate to see it. But I'm sure that Southern Miss, being a Division I level school, having the money to put into scholarships, they'll find a third. I just worry that because of all this drama, now you're going from a rank A third to maybe a rank B, maybe a low rank B plus third. Time will tell, indeed. But yeah, Twitch chat is already ahead of me. Who would have guessed this roster was going to crash out? I'll just leave it at that for me.
And if you want to read into the drama, I'll leave it to anyone interested to go dig deeper on Twitter. I just showed Astro's Twitter. He made some replies. I think the original, it started with Melodic, I believe, or Zath tweeting about recruiting for a third. And
yes,
then Astro
and then it was, quote,
replied with a video of some toxic comms, and I think it's as deep as it went. So if you're a drama junkie, go after that. But
translation, if you don't have a job.
Yeah, for the unemployed people out there, go search Twitter for this drama.
Oh, I shouldn't say that. Sorry. I shouldn't say that word. I apologize.
It's all right. It's all right. I'll get a real job eventually. But hey, the third position at USM, not so appealing right now. I mean, you got to be a really brave soul to go play as the third man on that Southern Miss roster. Because I mean, unless you know Zath and Melodic, and you just know you would fit into that lineup well, that's a weird position to be in, to come in as the third with this drama around Southern Miss and leadership change as well. It's an awkward position to be in, and I don't know how many players would be fit for that, you know?
A lot of tension in that program, to say the least. But speaking of relieving said tension, thank you to the CCS for the raid. segue. Thank you for the raid, Nation and the boys. Hopefully the whole national show went well. We're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Yes.
But to all 28 of you joining, welcome to me and Bepic's little paradise. This is Collegiate Exclusive. We are currently wrapping up our roster moves section or segment of the podcast. We still have our biggest reveal of the entire show left, so don't go anywhere just yet. But we can keep moving down the list. We're staying in the Southeast, though, for our next few roster moves.
Yes, so Cumberland, I'm going to do them next. Not the main roster. We haven't heard anything about the main roster just yet. But the B team, Hotshot and Gnosis are teaming together here, which is exciting because this is a pretty strong B team. I don't think this is going to shake the CRL scene. But these are two players. I think you said they were ranked B plus, around that area, TJ?
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna kind of hotshot somebody who I've made mutuals with on Twitter. He's a very funny dude online. I have a lot of respect for what he's been doing and kind of grinding in the background. Hotshot currently is ranked B, but I think you can make the argument that this roster, if they sign a B plus player to fill this third spot, then I actually think that all three of those players could hit B plus even together in RLCS. I think that these are players who are very open-minded, are very well taught in terms of their mentality, and there's students of the game, really. And going to a program like Cumberland, that is only going to make them better.
Yep.
And as long as they get a coach, because I mean, as of right now, Cumberland doesn't really have any Rocket League coaches involved. But let's say that Polder wants to take some time and work with them. Let's say that even Nex or Naya, anybody who's a higher level player who wants to take time with his team, I really think you can mold them into something special. I will say this, that if they do sign a B plus or A player, I think a very fun CRL open matchup you're going to look out for is a team like Syracuse, a new kind of upcoming B plus level team against Cumberland B. I think those are matchups that in the top 32 on a good day, maybe the top 28-ish of CRL, that are going to be a lot of fun to watch, even potentially top 16, maybe with Open 4 where we lose half the teams on day one to Star GG bugs. But regardless, not even that, just not even showing up in the first place. But either way, my point, it'll be a fun roster to watch. I'm excited to see them at LANs. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm actually going to see them at a LAN in Tennessee next month. So I'm already excited just to see what goes on there. But we'll see. It's a Scenic City Invitational. I don't know if we talked about it yet.
Okay,
but
no, I haven't heard about that.
Going on.
All right, well,
I'll have to go find it real quick for you.
Yes, please. So we need more to talk about this podcast. We're 15 minutes in and haven't even gotten past the second subject on the bar to the right. But that's cool with me. It's awesome having this much to talk about during the summer season, and that shows you how far CRL has come. Another big roster move. Speaking of how far we've come, two Frenchmen that were already in North America are going to East Tennessee State. I learned about this one at the SCL LAN back in May. And I mean, this is big time for ETSU, who's a program that's kind of jumped up out of nowhere. They had a great kind of starter roster, breaking into the top 48 with the Skyline Landon Adrift team that's been competing this last year together. But now Kisai and Faris playing with, I believe, Landon at ETSU. I mean, this is big for the Southeast.
Yeah, from what we're hearing, it will be Landon as the starter. Landon only has one school year left, I believe. So he will be the fill. And that means that this roster, I think, has the potential to be like a Concord, where you bring 2 players over from Europe who can be rank A, rank X level players, and then you bring somebody else in, a North American who's around rank A, and then they can be coached up. I think Skyline will instantly propel his skill level alongside these two. And it'll be a lot of fun to watch this roster. I think that these 2 Frenchmen specifically, I think this is what Fisher was trying to do in the first place whenever they signed Faris. I think they were trying to get this roster together. But I'm glad either way that they found a home at ETSU. We know that program very, very well.
Yeah.
They're doing things for the right reasons. Absolutely adore their staff team. And again, they're in Tennessee, which means we get to see them at LANs. They will probably qualify for Bluegrass Boost Battle. They could mess around and get invited to Boost on the Beach. And of course, the LAN I just mentioned, the Scenic City Invitational, that event is in Chattanooga. So I fully expect to see this roster there.
I mean, these guys as well, I've only heard rumors about them going to schools together. And so I think there's a certain amount of chemistry between these two that they'll be bringing to ETSU. So I'm excited. It's another SCL school that is picking up a really good team and will be very competitive towards the top of CRL. So thumbs up for Southeastern Collegiate Rocket League. It's only getting better. And we have a couple more roster moves. Real quick, I want to run through the roster moves that we talked about before pre-jump that ended up playing in pre-jump. This is going to be quick, so if you you're gonna have to go to like 50% speed on this if you really want to lock in and hear about this. But George Mason, new roster of Memory, Krasix, and Kinsa. Krasix and Kinsa being the 2 new guys to George Mason, another SEL school. Then Syracuse giving baby some help with Tiz and Lesser. And in my pre-jump predictions, I had them losing to Wichita State after Wichita State had a really good run through day 1. And Tiz said that fired him up. So I'm happy to help another team by predicting against them. So Syracuse looked good at pre-jump. Florida adding K-Frost and South Florida's SAP. And SAP will join them the fall semester, K-Frost in the spring semester, if nothing has changed the last I heard. Wichita State adding Knight from Maryville. He transferred over there. James Madison still figuring out their roster, if it will be Pigeon or Fright, the new freshman coming in. Indiana Tech adding Reshiram and Velocity to European and SSA professional players. Edgewood splitting with Bryant going to a different school, Pincus Cat going to North Dakota, and Timmy retiring. Michigan State adding Drewy, formerly at St. Edwards. Now we assume joining the starting roster of Michigan State, a player of that caliber. And then Shawnee State adding Royalis after Duckworth graduated and upgrading their mechanical power there. They had a good run through pre-jump. But any of those you want to jump back on retroactively, TJ, and talk about?
Not that I can think of. I mean, the rosters from we're about to talk about pre-jump, so I won't say too much, but the rosters that really stood out were obviously Syracuse, Ole Miss, George Mason. Those were the big ones that stood out. Michigan State did very well. I think I had them predicted to do a little bit better than what they showed, but that's a roster that we talked about it on the last episode. I think that there's a lot that can be talked about in terms of which 3 people should actually be the starting roster, and then how can they actually play. If you want to go back and see my opinions on that roster, feel free to go watch the last episode. But either way, I'll save it because we got a lot to go through, and obviously there is another decent roster move to talk about at some point on this podcast. I don't know when we're going to bring it up, because we've been alluding to it for a while. And also, yes, I do know that my mic is probably not the best. I am on headset mic. I do apologize. But moral of the story, we've talked about all the roster moves other than one. I'll let you decide when you want to reveal that, Bepic, but I'm ready to keep moving along if you want to.
I think now's a good time. Oh, it's bad? Okay, hold on. It might be my OBS doing it as well, because I know OBS has had a glitch in the past where it would just get really robot-y.
Oh, yeah, that happened last time, too.
So let me find your audio real fast, and I hope the fix still works. I thought they had patched this, but apparently not. So give me just 1 second, and
across the country, I'm doing nothing, but apparently I'm the problem. We really just can't do anything right.
All right, your audio's gonna go in and out here for a second on my stream at least. So hopefully it's good on your stream. All right.
Twitch
chat. Is it good? Is it good? I need thumbs up before we do this reveal officially, because I need good audio for the
hopefully
the
we're okay, gents.
Thumbs up?
We have a generational podcast moment coming up here.
Yeah, right. All right, 11 says it's good. Albedo says it's good. All right, I'll take 2 for 2 here. So I teased this a little bit in my tweet earlier. This is the first real collegiate exclusive. This sort of thing is what I was hoping this podcast could become with mine and TJ's ties to the collegiate scene and the connections that we have. I was just waiting for someone to give clearance on revealing a rumor like this before it actually comes out to the public, and I've been given permission. Kennesaw State has picked up a very exciting new third, and they have given us the go-ahead to reveal that Kronovi will be enrolling at Kennesaw State for this upcoming CRL season, and will be on the starting lineup of Kennesaw State, who are very close in the process of getting scholarships for their varsity rosters within esports. And so that's a big draw for a guy like Kronovi, who I imagine wouldn't go just to go to a school. He would need some compensation to play, and he's found the right fit at Kennesaw State. So Kronovi's coming to CRL, TJ. How about that?
Georgia. Georgia, we are so up. I will never, ever have to battle with Bepic over no Georgia versus Bama CRL feud ever again. We've cleared it. We still gotta show something. I need Flitz TNT to lock in. I mean, Kronovi's been grinding. If you guys have been watching his streams, he has been grinding. But when it comes to Georgia-made talent, Kennesaw State really have assembled, I think, the super team of some kind. And Dylan has also confirmed they will also be at the Scenic Invitational, which is going to be at the end of September. And that will be probably the first big premiere event of the entire season. And Chattanooga is beautiful. So it's all coming together. Kronovi's in, Nolly is in. There's a lot more pros that are being rumored to be joining. I mean, we already talked about the whole Kofir thing, but regardless, it is a big honor to welcome Kronovi to not only Georgia Collegiate Esports, as the representative on this show of Georgia here, but also to Collegiate Rocket League in general. So I'm very excited to see what this roster can do. Also, Dylan can probably confirm or not confirm this. I have been waiting to see a Kennesaw State roster that is willing to travel to LANs for so long now. And we finally get one who I think will be fully committed now, because Curry was very busy. He's obviously very committed to his academics. I can't blame him for not wanting to travel too much. But now with TNT, Flitz, and Kronovi, and Dylan as well, with nothing better to do but just have fun and enjoy Collegiate Rocket League and be good at it as well, I'm very excited to see this roster. They're going to dominate Peach Belt as well, so we'll see them in Texas in May.
I was just going to say, I mean, if everything does stay the same, that should be an automatic bid to CECC. I think it depends mostly on what Lander does, because Lander is a school that could pick up a heavy-hitting roster and maybe compete with Kennesaw and Peach Belt, but I think that's the only school I see with a roster that will be at Kennesaw's level. I mean, that's a guy that was, I wasn't born in Kennesaw, but I lived there for 18 or so years. My family's still there. I'll be there on Wednesday. Like, I'm so happy to see my hometown with a good Rocket League team. Like, that's exciting for for me. And I mean, for all of CRL to have a figure like Kronovi joining Collegiate Rocket League, that's big time. It legitimizes the space and hopefully brings more eyes, which this is already going to be a big season for CRL in terms of lands available, personalities in the scene, big time names joining the scene. Like, CRL really is on the up and up right now.
We're going to see them in action against some of the best, too. I mean, obviously, I hope that we see ETSU. I know that me and the Concord boys will be in Chattanooga for the Scenic City Invitational. I hope we see Cumberland B. I can confirm that as of right now, the Cumberland A team is actually staying together because they are signed up for the Scenic City Invitational.
Okay.
I will say, as of right now, it is Nitya and Polar who are signed up. There is no sign of Next just yet. But if you look at the Concord roster, it says it's me and Crispy. And as you guys know, I will not be starting at that LAN. So we'll see what happens. But I would like to think that if Naya and Polar are signed up right now, Next should be a shoo-in. Because if I was going to put my bets on it, I would have put Polar and Next together based on their history. But we'll have to see. That event right there, mark your calendars, Chattanooga, Tennessee, September 26th through the 28th. It's going to be an absolute blast, and I hope to see you all there.
I mean, it's good to see fall lands. We need more fall lands, and we talked about that last episode, I think, and now we're kind of getting that. So shout out! I think it's hosted at the University of Tennessee Chattanooga as well.
I am triple checking. Yes, it should be because that's like our little brother program at Concord. Because anyways, that's a story for another time. We have a very good relation with UTC, and so yes, I am 99% sure that it will be either on campus or it'll be at the convention center in the city. I know it will be ran by UTC. I can confirm that. So big shout out to them.
Sweet. Well, something to look forward to for the fall season. But let's talk past right now, where we saw a lot of these new rosters debut, pre-jump, and I'm going to pull up those results real fast as we move away from the roster changes. We wanted to leave it on the big news that Kronovi's coming to CRL, but now we can talk pre-jump. We can talk results, because last time we had a CEP episode was the Monday before pre-jump started on the Wednesday of that week. So we didn't get to talk pre-jump, and I don't know why it looks like that. So give me a second. I'll fix that in a moment. But if you want to talk results, I mean, Ole Miss won, beat Concord in 7. I know you're coaching your boys, TJ. So what happened? Why second place? Give us the excuses.
Okay, all right. First of all, there is no false excuses. These are all fair excuses. No, I'm trolling. We talked about it a lot already, kind of throughout Twitter. We have no issues with this result. I honestly didn't even get the guys to register in time. Almost, I was trying to convince Crispy and CMOS. And also, really, the guys have just been really enjoying their summer, and they've been working as well. So I just said, look, guys, go get your free money. Go get your free money. Go place top 4. I think you guys could do that with your eyes closed. And so what did they do? Well, we picked up Crispy on about 120 ping. We had CMOS on a laptop, and then we had Helix on about 60 frames a second, and we managed to make it all the way to finals. So in terms of what I view with the circumstances, this is a win. This is my debut event with the boys, second place. I cannot complain. And also, it was a very fun event. I mean, I got to see really all of my friends in this tournament. We played Wichita, we played Syracuse, we played Shawnee, and we see Ole Miss. I personally had a really good time. Not only coaching my first major collegiate event, but also just really going through the night with these guys as well. Unfortunately for Crispy being all the way in the UK, I think we finished at 4 a.m. his time. So even if he was on good ping, I don't think we would have, maybe we would have won, but it would have been pretty chopped either way. But, we outplay schools on full strength and normal ping, like Ball State, like West Virginia, like Syracuse. Obviously, St. Clair had to play on European ping. That's St. Clair green, not St. Clair gold. So, again, in my eyes, I think we did the best we physically could have. A win would have been cool, but, I mean, we got all season to get back to that, and we got lands coming down the pipeline, too. So I can't complain. It was a lot of fun. A lot of very nice results out of this event as well.
Yes.
LCU, Indiana Tech. A mixed Akron roster without 5-up with Milio in instead. Wichita State and Syracuse having a really, really fun rivalry to watch. But now having one that should be ultra competitive because Syracuse is upgraded. They went to 6. West Virginia, Indiana Tech went to 6. St. Clair Green got a crazy upset against them with Ball State. They also almost lost to George Mason. Now, granted, that was on ping, so you can only read into that so much, but this event simply was fun, and there's no other way that you can look at it.
It was, I think, the perfect event for the time of year. Like if it was in the middle of the season, it would be a good event. But the fact that it was in summer, and this is the biggest event that we have during the summer, pre-jump was awesome. So thank you to Colleague and the Kansas City Pioneers, the National Guard, and everything that went into putting this event together, because it was phenomenal. And it gave us headlines in a pretty dry season, because everyone's getting their rest. Everyone is avoiding DDoSers right now and actually enjoying the outside world. So that's fine with me. I think that's how summer should be. I mean, summer series in the past has been great, but I mean, CCS, Summer League as well, and pre-jump, these are good events, but everyone kind of needs a break after how long the season is. But this was a good break from the break. And we had good stories like Shawnee State looking phenomenal with Roy Allison, Ole Miss storming in and winning the whole darn thing with S5 Cosmic, and just getting to see all of the new stories that these rosters that are bringing in maybe a new European player or a transfer like Wichita State bringing in Knight. They look good. They beat St. Clair Green on ping in group stage, but that's still a good win for Wichita State. I think a sign of what they are going to be able to do. And then Syracuse beating Wichita State, a sign of what these teams are going to be doing in the fall.
It's going to be a very fun top 16. I think we officially reached the age where the CRL top 8 is very competitive. I think this is the year where the top 12 becomes competitive. Yeah. Possibly the top 16 could become very competitive. For example, I could totally see schools like Syracuse maybe on a good day taking it to a St. Clair Gold or taking it to an Akron Blue, or if this Michigan State roster finally starts to reach their full potential. West Virginia really struggled as well. So who knows what it's going to look like. But this event was a very, very nice precursor into what the CRL Opens and the LANs in September will finally show us. Or maybe even August if CRL starts early again. Who knows? But either way, very, very fun. And also, speaking of summer events, we are going to start talking about CCS as well, which, again, for the unemployed is one of the most fun things to watch because this right here is the CRL top, I would say, top 32 all the way down to maybe the top 72, maybe top 128. It's almost like the Tier 2 scene for Collegiate Rocket League. We have a lot to go over. Nothing major in terms of upsets, but we do have a lot to go over in terms of results.
Even for the employed, it's still pretty fun to watch. So that should tell you everything you need to know about CCS. It's a very fun league, and so if you don't know the format of CCS, we've talked about it before on the podcast, but it mirrors kind of college basketball, where you have your non-conference play at the start of the season, then conference play, then conference championship brackets, and then it feeds into a big single elim bracket. It's 32 teams for the summer. Normally it's 64 to really mirror March Madness, but what we're talking about right now is the conference championship. CCS actually just had their selection show. It was going on. It went live at the same time we went live, which is why we weren't watching it. And it wrapped up. Thanks for the raid again, Nation. But this is what they were doing. And the schools that won in these brackets we're about to talk about, TJ, got automatic bids, so they knew their spot was safe. Everyone else was watching to see if they get in. And like you said, there weren't a ton of crazy upsets, but still some good results. Like over here, UNCC, not surprising that they win. Syracuse, same deal. But Iowa State, that's a competitive Big 12 that they were able to come out on top of.
There's always been arguments within the server that the SEC, the ACC, the Big 12, who's the most competitive conference out of the entire CCS? And for the first time, ever since I started following the CCS, which has been almost 3 years now, I would argue that I think the Big 12 probably was the most competitive conference for the first time this year. They were a lot of fun to watch. And Iowa State, just when you thought they maybe were slipping a little bit, obviously Arizona went on a really good run, absolutely dominating Baylor and Colorado. They did obviously hit a brick wall with Iowa State. But that roster, they've been looking to break out of the conference championship decision and actually break into the national championship discussion is what I meant to say. And I think this could be a year where maybe they could make a top 8 run. Maybe they could even push further than that, but who knows?
Worth noting as well that Arizona and Iowa State matched up, I think it was a week or two ago in the regular season, and Arizona won that match in 5. So good on Iowa State for getting some revenge there. But San Diego State going back to boring results in conference championships, a 4-0 sweep. SDSU look really good right now. And, I mean, 4-0 sweeps, 4-1. Not many entertaining championships when it comes to close matchups. And that kind of continues here. I mean, South Carolina, their championship, I think, was in the semifinals. And, I mean, you and I are both SEC boys with our alma maters. South Carolina and Florida, definitely, alongside Texas A&M as the top teams in the SEC this season. But Florida goes down. Florida with K-Frost goes down to a South Carolina that's not playing with cats. It's Turnup, SJT, and AUG that beat Florida in 6 here.
Yeah, what a weird world we live in. Florida and Texas A&M go 8-0 throughout conference play, and it seemed like they were going to be easy predictions for the final 2 SEC teams left. But I mean, you can see it here right in front of your screens. I think the South Carolina upset isn't as shocking as Tennessee coming out of left field and really taking it at Texas A&M, beating them in 6. But still, that South Carolina upset can't be overlooked. And then obviously South Carolina dominated Tennessee. I think no matter which school won from the bottom side, I think Florida or South Carolina would have won in the final. But it's even crazier to note that South Carolina, funny enough, they have a very up and down history like Alabama, which I've given you crap for many years now. And they were 1 game away from not even having a chance at making it to the final and potentially missing out on nationals entirely. So for South Carolina, I mean, look, they locked in when it mattered the most. This roster looks like they're not only having a good time, but they look extremely dangerous as well. And they caught fire at the perfect time. There's also rumors that K-Frost may have to stop playing with Florida because he was catching a lot of flack from the CCS Discord about if he was officially enrolled at Florida, which, by the way, I will say this to cover his backside officially. He has been cleared as an official Florida student this summer and was allowed by Nation and the CCS, I guess, admin committee or the board to compete. So to anybody who's just sending him hate, please do not. He does not deserve by any means, and I hope that doesn't get to him too much because we really want to see this Florida roster in nationals, even though they won't be a direct 1 seed.
I think they will still make a run. That should be a team that is either that's playing in the top 4. They should be a Final Four roster, even with this loss to South Carolina, which I want to give these upsets equal stature, because if you have the context of South Carolina versus Florida within the last year, this upset becomes even bigger, because the SJT, AUG, and Cats lineup played Florida with True Raid for the majority of these as their third. They played them, I forget the exact number, but it's something like 10, 11, or 12 times since the start of the fall semester across NECC, CCS, SEL, etc. And Florida won almost all of them. I think before this, South Carolina had beaten Florida 1 time out of like 10 matchups. And then they turn around and beat them here without Cats. Like, Turnup has got to have been grinding to have filled in well, but AUG had a phenomenal series. I've got the ball chasing replays put into a group here because I want to show off AUG's stats. Well, our accolades of the week are later in the show, but I think we can kind of do them rolling since our they kind of tie into CCS results. But AUG's my player of the week of the show, because he in this series averaged a goal per game against Florida with their defensive capabilities that Larry and K-Frost have, and then against UTK in the conference. Oh, I'm not showing the stats. I'm an idiot. Okay, we're going back here.
Just pretend that you were looking at and your mouth was dropped at the stats, guys.
Goal per game against Florida, and then over here against UTK, he drops 2 goals per game in an SEC conference championship. Those are absurd numbers against that level of competition, and so AUG is my player of the week.
I mean, I'm glad we're talking about South Carolina because USC has now shown multiple players from the B team who have not only been competitive enough to play at the A team level, but have actually found success at the A team level. First, it was SJT. Now it's Turnup. Two is not a coincidence. What Katz and Og have built at USC is very, very admirable for how they coach up players and really have them prepared to step in at any given moment, give their absolute best, and it be better than the season-long grinders in the SEC. And so for South Carolina, they're my team of the week for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
If we had a program of the week, I would throw them on that too. But my player, since you had Og, I chose Kung because if Tennessee does not have Kung on this roster, I think he is the absolute glue, no pun intended, to Tennessee's history. He is the glue of this roster, and without him, Tennessee does not make an upset over Texas A&M. And Tennessee also has a very nice history of coaching up B team players. I believe that Joe Burrow and Shaka have still been working with this Tennessee roster to go over replays, to make adjustments between games and series. It's a very, very, very heartwarming thing to see that the SEC is building programs to last, even though it is CCS, even though it's not CRL. It's very nice to see how important this is for these schools, for these players, and that they actually care enough to give their all into competition like this. And even though it was a sweep, I still have Kung as my player of the week. And also, I have to be blunt at the same time. There is simply not a single player who is on the field for that USC and UTK game that is as good as Og. Og is thousands of hours ahead of anybody on that field. And so if he didn't go for crazy stats, I think there would have been a problem with his PC. So big congrats to South Carolina. I didn't exactly see where they fit in the standings for nationals, but I hope they got a huge boost from it.
Yeah, I was looking for a graphic in the CCS Discord of the official bracket, but I couldn't find it to pull up here. So we'll have to find that in a second, which is why you saw OBS pop up for a second. I was fiddling around behind the scenes. That's what happens when you put me on production. But I'll find that in a moment. We'll keep talking about conference championships in the meantime, though. Maryland won the Big Ten. They 4-0'd Illinois, which is a really good result for them, beating Purdue as well, which was Enchanted's kind of last run, at least in the conference tournament. I assume Purdue made the top 32. I don't recall, though. But Maryland winning there. Shout out to them. I know we got to meet those guys at Boost on the Beach. Lovely group. I hope they join the NEL because that's a fun team to watch, and they stomped in that conference championship.
I mean, again, we already mentioned that there's not a lot of big upsets, but I think there's some beauty in that because the teams who have been predicted or have been dominating their conferences, at least outside of the SEC, still are the very clear favorites. And also, we are getting some form of a graphic from CCS, but I'll go ahead and start talking about the seeds because I do have those listed out. Florida, despite the big upset, they are still a 1 seed in the third quadrant, so they're the 3 seed overall. They will still be the top dog in their side of things. Akron, San Diego State, and Syracuse are the other 1 seeds. I think those are all very fitting. I mean, AZAP has been on an incredible run outside of Collegiate Rocky League. And so for San Diego State, they are really, really looking good. But finally, we have the bracket up. It's not as big as it normally is throughout the fall, but it's still a very beautiful bracket, and there is some fun matchups to talk about, Bepic. I'll let you go first.
Still kind of analyzing it. So top seeds were to be expected: Syracuse, Akron, Gold, Florida, and San Diego State. And this is my first time really looking at the bracket. I'd seen the seedings previously, but I hadn't plugged in the matchups just yet. Tennessee and Maryland could be good. South Carolina, Iowa State will be good.
I was about to say, if you didn't say that, I was going to. That's easily the best matchup on the list right here. Drexel and Pitt could be a sleeper too.
Oh yeah, if Pitt shows up for that one, absolutely. Northeastern Grand Canyon is another good one because Northeastern's been on a tear. We didn't even finish the conference championships. Hold on. Before we officially talk,
we can speed run through the rest.
Yeah. Speed running. Sam Houston won on a great run, but fell short to FIU. Louisiana beat Texas State to win their conference championship. UConn and DePaul go at it, and UConn wins another conference championship. GCU beat UTA. Akron, no surprise there. NAU, not a huge surprise there, even though Idaho is still a solid roster. And then the big one here is Northeastern and Drexel. They go to 7. Northeastern beat Drexel 2 times this season. And I have to give my flowers to Northeastern here because Prosk said something earlier in the spring semester about this matchup against Drexel. They had beaten Northeastern something like 5 or 6 times in a row, and Prosk was like, no one beats us, we'll say for the sake, it's 6 times in a row. And then Drexel did beat them that 6th time in a row. But then this summer league season, Northeastern get their revenge, not once during group play where it doesn't really matter, but in the conference championship as well in 7. And I've got those stats as well. And the big notable player in this series is Harlequin, who was the Northeastern freshman from last season. So he was going into his sophomore year. Averaged 1.3 goals per game, shot 37.5% against Drexel, which that's huge to have formerly freshman player put up that sort of performance to beat Drexel. I'm so excited for Northeastern.
In terms of conference championships, by the way, this was the only one to go to 7. And Northeastern being backs against the wall after they dropped game 6, and normally in an average Drexel rivalry, I guess if you want to call it that, even though they only just now started beating them, that would normally be a turning point where Drexel finally starts to play like they're expected to, and they go and they drive the series home. But Northeastern got the early wins. They stayed in control. That team, top to bottom, from the coaching staff down to the players, they've been really fun to watch, very easy to love and support, and they're one of the most fun teams that CCS has to offer. And so congrats to them. They had a banger series, and for nationals, even though they are still ranked below Drexel, I don't think they have to worry about Drexel in their bracket. I was trying to double check, and it looks like that is the case. So they get a fresh, clean slate. Well, you still got to play GCU, but then you have San Diego State. So we'll see how their run goes. It's a very tough pull compared to what Drexel got, but time will tell. We'll have to see how the playoffs sort out.
Louisiana, East Carolina, an SEL matchup there, which Louisiana should win, but East Carolina, they can do crazy things sometimes. Penn State and FIU going to be a big one there if both teams are playing at full strength. That ought to be a nice series. The 4-5 matchups are fairly solid as well. So I'm excited to see how the CCS Nationals go. The bracket never disappoints.
And even though it is a summer and the bracket's half the size, there's still going to be a lot to watch. I forget which day they start broadcasting. I had it written down, but I cannot find it. Yeah, Nation will tell us, I'm sure. But go follow Collegiate CS on Twitch. On Twitter. They are a lot of fun to watch, and that broadcast always has a good time. So make sure you go support all the action. I'm sure they're going to have 1,000 different co-streamers as well. I'm sure Somber will be there. I'm sure Taquito will be there. So go support their channels as well. It should be a blast of a bracket. And it's really all that we have because there is no summer series. So make sure that you go watch that if you want your collegiate fix.
Great segue. So summer series we had previously thought was coming back. And it turns out that's not the case, as I've heard that they were looking, I don't know if they're still looking for a big sponsorship to cover it. Didn't end up panning out, so no summer series as far as I know right now, and we're a month and a half away from the fall season starting. So if you were to run a summer series, it'd probably be a 2-weekend event max. So we're kind of sad about that.
Yeah, so I'll say this because it was my intel that led us here in the first place. Yeah. I was directly told by a CCA staff member that summer series was being cooked up, that it was being worked on, that it was the key priority for CCA and that whole organization. That's Collegiate Carball Collegiate Carball Association, for those of you who are not familiar with who CCA is. They've always done summer series. It's always been a blast. And this year, I mean, of how CRL, like how crazy it's been, all the roster moves, like Ole Miss, Syracuse, Michigan State, etc., George Mason, it would have been awesome to see those rosters go head-to-head with the previous top 8 of Collegiate Rocket League. But from what I was told, funny enough, that just wasn't true. And then whenever I reached back out for a follow-up, I believe it was almost directly 6 days ago, maybe 7 days ago, I reached back out to get some sort of idea of what my CCA contact had meant by it, and I was completely aired out on Discord. So to the CCA, I'm not going to say anything too rude, but we are very heavily disappointed, and that is the nicest possible way I can say it.
Well, I mean, yeah, we're disappointed. No, there's no summer series, and hopefully the CCA is able to come back next year with the summer series, because it's always been a staple of CRL and a great event. They do a great job with it, and that's all we can really say on that. It's just kind of a follow-up on our thoughts previously on summer series coming back. So unfortunately, no summer series, but it's all right. We've got PreJump at least a month ago, CCS now for those D1 schools that can play in it, and hopefully it'll come back eventually. Which, speaking of CCS, Nation says that the National Championship starts tomorrow officially, runs through next Tuesday for the first round, and then round of 16 will be, and onward, will be August 1st through 3rd. So next 2 weeks, essentially, for CCS. So definitely go check it out if you need your fix of Collegiate Rocket League like I do. But moving along, you have any more thoughts on that, TJ?
I think it's best that I bite my tongue about the whole summer series thing. So let's just keep moving along.
Fair enough. We got our teams of the week. No, I didn't say. I don't think I actually said my team of the week. Northeastern. I was hyping them up and forgot to officially give them the award. So there you go, guys. You're my team of the week. Special summer accolades have been handed out. If you missed them, the players of the week, Kung and Og, and then teams of the week, South Carolina and Northeastern, for their results in their respective conference tournaments in the CCS. But moving along, let's talk more competitions. And this is one that we've got a pretty close source on here. The Concord Esports Passion Series. And that's all I'll say. TJ, take it away.
All right. Well, first of all, for those of you who have not been following my personal socials, as of last month, I committed to Concord to go take on the executive producer role. And ever since I joined, Concord already had a vision of bringing people to Athens, West Virginia for major tournaments. For those of you who have not gotten the chance to see what we're working on, this is finally the tweet that revealed it all. And so I'll go ahead. I mean, obviously, you can see right here in front of you on the tweet, we will have Valorant in August, we will have League of Legends in September, we will have Call of Duty in October, and we will have Apex Legends in November. And at the very end, you can see that we will have thousands of dollars per event, and they will be 2-day events. So we are not only trying to bring you to West Virginia, I promise it's beautiful up there, trust me, you should come and see it, but not only do you get to spend 2 whole days stuck with me and my program, but you will get to compete for thousands of dollars across the absolute best of the best across the nation. And they are all going to be open qualifiers. So no matter where you're from, no matter how good you think you are, go sign up for qualifiers. The Start GG, I believe, has not been posted yet. It should be posted this week. I'll have to go get some information on that. I'm not managing the tournament side of things. I'll be on the broadcast side of things. So you'll see me in front of the camera. You'll see me behind the camera. And I rumored to this a while ago, and I can also rumor to a little more about these events. You will start to see some familiar faces on the broadcast as well. We are not only going to be putting our students on broadcast, but we will be bringing some of your favorite casters from around the East Coast and even reaching towards the middle of the nation for some of these events. And I'm very excited to have a talent budget I can actually throw at some of the best casters that we can find. So it should be top to bottom some of the best LAN events of the entire year. Hopefully we get a few awards from it, but I mean, I'm just excited in general because we kick it all off with Valorant. I know we're a Rocket League podcast, but Valorant has not had a major LAN event in so long, other than NACE, really, or the Red Bull Campus Clutches of 2.5 years ago. And we get to do it in a month's time. August is a week and a little bit of change away, and we're already getting ready to expose everybody to what we're doing in Athens, West Virginia. So I'm very thrilled to present all of this. You'll see me obviously doing all the behind the scenes work, and you'll probably see me hosting as well. So I'll see you guys there. Ideally, either if you're playing or spectating virtually or in person, just check it out. We promise we'll put on a show for you. I think that's all I got.
Hey, that's the best spiel we could have gotten here. So I'm excited to see what you and Concord cook up with that. I love me some LANs, especially the non-Rocket League LANs, because I mean Rocket League, we're blessed to have as many LANs as we do in the collegiate space. Not every esport has that, so I'm excited to watch all of that unfold this season. So shout out to Concord for putting all of that together, and good luck running all those events. I'm sure that will keep you busy.
Oh, don't even get me started about some DreamHack rumors as well. Let's just say my plate is very, very full at the moment. And if you don't play Call of Duty, Apex, League, or Valorant, guess what? We are going to do the Passion Series all over again in the spring. It says 8 LAN events for a reason. We've got 4 more that will be revealed later on through the semester. And so if you're missing Rocket League, I promise you, it will be the Rocket League event to watch for, not just in the spring, but of the entire school year. We're very excited to announce that when the time is right.
All right, so follow Concord on Twitter, follow TJ, but you should have already been doing that if you're watching the podcast. Move along to the next subject. So it's not just TJ talking about his new program the whole time. Something else I'm very excited about on the journalistic side of Collegiate Esports. So CEN, Collegiate Esports News, was a thing for a little while. They were a platform for Collegiate Esports News, and if you didn't follow them, this is their Twitter handle. And I would recommend it. They took a break as it is very much grassroots, no major backing that I'm aware of. And the tweet I originally had up, this is Sheridan Cutie Pebs, teasing the return. She was a founder of CEN previously, and they put out a Google form here. So definitely go check that out as CEN comes back, because this is something I'm very passionate about with my journalism background. And that Collegiate Esports needs more journalists. They need more people covering stuff and making it simpler to follow, because right now it's hard to follow Collegiate Esports, and platforms like CEN, like this podcast, that's our goal, is to make it easier to follow.
In terms of concentrated groups of selfless people in Collegiate Esports, CEN is exactly word for word that community. They do such a good job of sacrificing their own time, their own money, and they put a lot of effort into traveling and covering as much as they physically can. Sheridan, an absolute legend in our space. If you are not following Sheridan, you should have done it a while ago. Tom is also involved in this project, an incredible contributor to the space, not to mention literally everybody. I could go on and on about all the people who work with CEN and how incredible they are. So please, please, please go support them, go follow them. And I do believe that this forum is still accepting.
Let's find out.
I think they are still accepting some submissions. So if you have anything to contribute about Collegiate Esports and what you want to see, please, please, please go take a few minutes just to go fill this out. It can be bullet points, it can be paragraphs. Go take some time, and it'll help them guide this. I guess now they're a business basically top to bottom with how they run things. It's going to help guide their business in the right direction. That way they hopefully will not have to take another hiatus in the future, and we get them forever, I hope. So really, really excited for Sheridan to be coming back into the space alongside her team, and CEN in general. We need that desperately. We need coverage.
And something I always liked about CEN, I worked with them a couple of times. I did some video and voiceover work for some Apex Legends videos, funny enough, with Oasis in the chat. For Octane Collegiate, but they always pay. And it's not a ton, obviously, because you're not raking in a ton of money being a news platform. But they always pay for your work that you do, whether it's writing an article, filming a video, voiceover, whatever. And I always appreciate that in esports, because that's not always guaranteed. But CEN always made sure to pay you for your time. So 2 thumbs up there. I love the mission. I love the CEN people. Go support them. And that's half of our Scholastic Minute. The next subject was a Play versus LAN. It was marketed as a $100,000 prize pool event, which is the only weird part about this. It's a great event, and Fade ended up winning the Rocket League 1v1. For a $100,000 prize pool. The prize pool, though, was a scholarship to a private institution. Now, you still have to be accepted. If you don't get accepted, I don't think you get $100,000. And so I thought the marketing was a little weird, but I really do like the initiative here, giving away a scholarship like this for an esports tournament.
And I'll go ahead and I'll jump the gun a little bit on, if any of you saw the tweet that I put out. It was an overall negative sounding tweet, but I do want to explain it just a little bit. Play versus and their decision making on what they decide to do with their target audience has always been something I hold very near and dear to my heart. because I spent my first 3 years in Scholastic Esports as a play versus player, and then I've spent my last 3 years in Scholastic Esports as a play versus coach. So I've spent all of my time in esports with play versus, working in my home state and my home county, and so that's why I put out the tweet that I put out. So I'm going to very briefly go through the fine lines of what the $100,000 meant. So I'm going to probably botch the name, so please correct me if I'm wrong here, Bepic. I believe it's Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. I believe that's right.
Oh, I don't know the pronunciation, sorry.
Okay, we'll just go with it. It's a very, very prestigious school. Do not get me wrong. I have no hate or any issues with the school. It's a very prestigious scholarship. But I also did clarify that you have to not only apply prize, but you do get a RLCS team jersey of your choosing with a $90 market value, and also you get a Scuff Envision Pro wireless controller. It's a very nice controller at a very good deal, and so you get that as a part of the pricing as well. And second place, I believe, also got a Scuff and a jersey. So either way, making the finals of this event was easily worth your time. But I also then go to talk about on the bottom what my problem was with this announcement and with this event. The marketing was very questionable, not only in its specificity, I guess is the right word to say, but also in its continuity and overall wording as well. I linked the post in question below, but Play Versus kind of used their short form content to showcase that they were partnering with RPI and they had this $100,000 tournament. They threw some cash up on the screen. So that was why I made the tweet, is that I had a problem with the ethics of Play Versus in this event. But I also did say at the very top of the tweet that Fade is incredible. In terms of high school talent, Fade is easily one of the best that you can see. Also, a little Easter egg as well. If you look at the ginger kid in the very end of that video, that's actually my brother who's in this announcement. So that's just a little fun little note. That was at my very first state championship. That was a little funny note. But outside of that, to summarize that whole point, Play Versus, it's a great event. It's awesome initiative. RPI is a great school, but it was just a little questionable versus the NHL event that they did, where they actually worked with the New Jersey Devils and they ran a virtual NHL event. The winner gets a trip to the NHL Winter Classic in 2026. And that's an awesome, awesome prize with an awesome program with a great sports franchise. That's how you should be doing it if you are Play Versus. So they know what they're doing. I'm not here to question it, but I am here to raise some eyebrows at it. And that's my thoughts on it overall.
Yeah, I would say everything is good about what Play Versus does here, except for the marketing. The marketing's not necessarily bad. There's been way more egregious stuff in the Scholastic space. It's just odd to me, like tossing the cash up, but it's a scholarship for a school that you have to get accepted into, and I think you said 58% acceptance rate, which is, I think I commented this on the tweet. This is a great reason to talk about and show high school kids you got to take your standardized tests seriously. Get your SAT scores up, get your ACT scores up. You can bypass so many expenses in college by skipping classes for having a certain grade on the ACT or SAT, or getting a scholarship like this for good scores. So if you're a high school student, focus on your SAT and ACTs and do well. Retake them until you can't do any better, I guess is what I would say. That and AP tests would be something. If I were to go back and talk to myself in the past, I'd say take all the AP tests you can, don't skip any of them, and perform well on your standardized tests. That's really my thoughts on the whole Play Versus thing.
Thank you, Uncle Bepic. Yeah, no, that's a great point. I didn't do as great on my AP exams as I really wish that I did, but I also did dual enrollment. So, you brought up AP exams. Yes. I will bring up dual enrollment. Dual enrollment is an awesome thing where if you're in high school, you don't know what this is, you can enroll at a college while you are in high school, and you can take classes at that college, either virtually or in person if you have a remote campus to go to, and you can get direct college credit by passing those classes. And there's no AP exam in those dual enrollment classes as well. So I really enjoyed doing that. But make sure that you prioritize all of your school statistics. Again, like Bepic said, GPA, a very important one, not only for your esports potential scholarships, but to just get in comfortably to any school that you may want to as well. I mean, again, the RPI is a very prestigious school. You don't have to aim for something as high as that. But if you are a great Rocket League player, make sure that your academics are also SSL level. No pun intended or jokes there. Please make sure that both things rise together. And that way you can be the smartest player, both inside and outside the classroom. That's physically possible. So that's my UNC side of things.
When I was recruiting at Huntingdon, we had to turn down several SSL players because their GPA wasn't high enough to meet recruiting standards at Huntingdon. So you're missing out on at minimum a half ride because you didn't have a high enough GPA or standardized test scores, and that's all I'll say. I've got plenty of examples of that. Last call is the last segment. This is something that's kind of outside of the Scholastic Esports space, so I gave it its own segment. But TJ, I know you wanted to talk about this Danger Taco tweet, which I don't think I have any families with young kids that are watching my stream regularly, but there is a bad word in this tweet coming up. So if you're sensitive to that, avert your eyes and listen. Just listen to me and TJ talk about this and the follow-up. Go ahead.
All right, so let's go ahead and I'll give everybody the rundown. So Cora Kennedy, one of the best photographers in all of Collegiate Esports, tweeted out fun times with a picture of a Google search that says Illinois breach of contract lawyers. And then obviously Danger, we now get to his tweet where he said the worst year in esports continues to get worse, burn it all down, kind of poking a little bit of fun at it with the Texas breach of contract lawyers, because obviously he is Texas based and Cora is Illinois based. Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead and go over what breach of contract even means. In esports, there's a very bad history of orgs. I mean, think about G1 a few years ago, who have very awkwardly written contracts that they will hand out to their players, their casters, their coaches, anybody in esports who's getting paid. They have to sign a contract. That's how the job works. Or sorry, the JOB works. I got to stop saying it without filtering it. And some people simply don't take the time to read over their contracts, and also the businesses in question will take advantage of those loopholes that they put in the contracts themselves. It's a very shady business, and obviously I'm not saying that Cora and Danger didn't read their contracts. They've had their very long tenured history in esports. I'm sure that they have their own lawyers and friends and colleagues who go alongside with them to read over these contracts. But it's a very awkward scenario, and they did not say directly who it was. But Bepic, if I'm allowed to, I want to hypothesize for a little bit.
Okay, don't send anyone too bad.
I won't go too crazy. So there is only a very, very tiny amount of events that both Danger and Cora were at. The absolute biggest events with recent financial issues that I can think of, there's two. There's anything that involves CCA, or there's anything that involves CECC. I know from personal experience, because we've talked about it on this podcast publicly before, CECC had a lot of sponsors who were delayed in their commitment to the event. And so I personally hope that this is not about either one of those groups. But I have a hard time thinking that if these two specific people tweeted that it's not one of those groups. But I also wanted to throw CRL in there / CCA, because I have a bad feeling this is why we don't have Summer Series as well. Because obviously they were, I believe, both working as media with those groups. I believe Cora worked in not the Rocket League portion of CCA, but the Fortnite portion. And Danger obviously cast at CRL, and CCA helps manage that. So that's all I wanted to say. I'm not trying to throw any shade to anybody. I just want to hypothesize for a little bit and have a little bit of fun, because the comments, we were all throwing names out there just to see. But either way, I hope that regardless, everything turned out okay. Danger did make a tweet, I believe today, where he said payment sent. Had them shook for a minute, though. So, yes, the payment was sent, but if Danger and Cora tweeted, that means there is still a legal violation. I obviously don't expect them to pursue legal action, but it would be very, very interesting drama to follow if they do decide to go further. So, time will tell, but it seems like that a form of hush-hush money has been distributed. Someone's wallet got emptied, and I'm not sure whose, but it was a little rush, to say the least. Very odd, very weird.
Yeah, money's always so awkward in the esports space, with the like weird contracts, with people just not paying out on time. But I mean, it's difficult to go after the money because it's so hard to get out of the feeling that you are insulting someone or losing out on a future job opportunity because you're like pushing too hard. It's an awkward spot, and I'm proud of Taco for tweeting and getting the payment maybe as a result of that. So thank you to Taco for kind of being a leader in that sense. It's not easy to go public with that sort of thing. So yeah, that does it for the show, really, unless you have more thoughts on anything at all. I think we've exhausted our own show, and it's been an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah, so. I think it's easily our longest episode, but I also think it was the busiest episode in terms of how much has been going on this summer. So I'm just glad that we got to cover it all. There is still so much time between now and the very first CRL Open, before the very first LANs of the season in September. And once the season picks back up, you're going to see our beautiful faces every single week. So we're very happy to bring all of it to your screens, to your Spotify, to your Twitch, wherever you may be watching from, even the VODs on Bepic's YouTube channel. You can watch from there too. So big shout out to all the viewers and all the people who love what we do, because we love what we're doing as well. So that's all I got to say. It's been a great night.
Follow the podcast on Spotify. We upload to YouTube on the MrBepic channel. The VODs are saved on Twitch, but we all know that Twitch is kind of shady with their storage policies nowadays, changing things up. So they will probably not be on Twitch forever, but they're also on Spotify. So follow on Spotify. I'm trying to build that up. I listen to my podcast on Spotify, so it's kind of a personal thing for me to have a somewhat successful podcast on Spotify. So go follow us there and rate us 5 stars, or rate us whatever you think the amount of stars we deserve is. I don't care. Either way, go follow us on Spotify. But that does do it for another episode of the Collegiate Exclusive Podcast. Like TJ said, we will be back, especially when the season starts. Trying to go weekly. That's the goal right now. He and I are busy guys, so it may not be every week, but weekly podcast is what we want CEP to be. And we probably won't have another episode for another 3 weeks at minimum, because I'm still on the road
probably
for the next
August.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Probably mid-August, once things really do start ramping up, when things are confirmed. We'll have that Baylor announcement to talk about next time as well, that Coach Stanley teased there. But hey, follow us on socials, BepicCasts, at DJTJRL. That's where you hear about Collegiate Exclusive and everything else Collegiate Rocket League. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I will see you all next time. Toodaloo.